Hi, this is Malcolm Nance, and if you're watching this, you're watching a 3 minute late episode of Black Man Spy. Sorry, we had some difficulties connecting on the laptop, so I have blazing 5G speed from the router now onto the mobile, and I mean we're moving at like 600 megabytes per second, so it's very, very fast. Oh boy, wow. Welcome to the day after taco. And here's the beautiful part. It's Monday. There's still room for another taco. Right? We could taco the taco. So there's still a great chance there could be a Taco Tuesday this week, right? Where Trump, who chickened out on his attack on Iran, could chicken out on his chickening out on the attack on Iran, and the United States and Israel could get back to making threats. We shall see about that. But today is U.S. Iran Ball of Confusion cast, day 22 of the new phase of the war, plus day 156 since the United States has actually started carrying out attacks against Iran in what was supposed to be a 2 or 3 week war. Do you guys remember that statement? And then when they got to the 2 weeks, they were like, yeah, maybe a couple of more weeks at the most. Yeah, that was 6 months ago. We are in a quagmire and they can't find a way out. So to discuss this today is Jacob Carsbo, Danish intelligence officer extraordinaire, and Wajeeh, the gay lion, coming to us from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we have Central European time from Copenhagen, and we have Midwest time in the United States, Central time in the United States. And I am, of course, on the East Coast of the United States. I am your host, Malcolm Nance. Oh, guys, I'm going to show you. I'm going to be honest with you. Apart from a couple of incidental things that I want to discuss, this is all the notes that I got. There is literally nothing going on. Nothing going on. But we do not. There I go. You guys who are in the chat, you're making jokes already. Somebody said this is Operation Coitus Interruptus. So I guess the taco has they got interrupted. Um, but since we have all this time, do you guys have a coffee cup? Anybody? Jacob? Oh, Jacob's his CIA mug. Wajeeh his ceramic Italian mugs. I am still sporting the Navy double espresso mug from 1917. So, okay, well, anybody want to talk about anything? Not true. Has been some significant activities. The biggest, most significant activity is that Iran continues to strike at merchant ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And now, since I have the phone mounted to where I can show you the screen, also, Jacobs, I can actually play you some of the video that we've been seeing from these merchant attacks, including one that where the Iranian Revolutionary Guard warned everybody that if you continue on in the Strait of Hormuz, you could be attacked, right? With one of those things, a flying dagger. Oh, these are what we have available. So yesterday there was yet another ship attack in the Strait of Hormuz. Hold on, just hours ago.
Yeah.
And the UK
About 10 hours ago, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, 3 hours ago, the UK MTO reported it was a failed Iranian attack on a tanker straight north of Musandam. This is as of this morning, 2030 UTC time. That would have been last night. The ship was not hit, but there was an explosion nearby, and the ship turned back as it was intended. God intended ships that are running the Iranian blockade to do. So, as you see, we are back to a ship gets attacked here, a ship gets attacked here. Yesterday, we were talking global oil apocalypse. massive war on all fronts. Now we're back to the good old usual days of small ship attacks. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Trump gave the statement, obviously, one of these propaganda statements on Air Force One, and said that the Strait of Hormuz would be absolutely open and free, and negotiations were ongoing, and all this. And it's nonsense, of course. Everyone knows that. And just to underline things, what we were just saying there happened within 5 or 6 hours of Trump's statements. Now I'm on Central European time, so I saw it this morning in Europe. So in the middle of your night, and yeah, just underlining that this is going to be the same regardless, and if there is to be some kind of a agreement or memorandum or whatever, Trump will have to live with Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah, yeah.
I think
What?
but I think people really need to take a second, and I understand the different terminologies each sides of this war uses. For example, Trump says we are in direct negotiations with the Iranians.
Oh, sure he
Iranians come
is.
out, and the
Not
Iranians
true.
come out and says no negotiations with the Iranians.
Who?
When Trump says
No,
I have direct negotiations with the Iranians, I feel he's talking about the indirect talks that's on the side. Every time there's indirects on the side, he goes, "We have direct negotiations with the Iranians. We're very close to the deal." And the Iranians, every time they have talks on the side, they don't consider that real negotiations. So they're like, we don't have any negotiations. So like
certainly.
we just like people need to take a second and like because they really use different terminologies to achieve their own public image goals every time they want to get a message across. You got the rest of the public that hasn't paying attention to the details all of a sudden confused. Is there negotiation? Is there no negotiation? There is indirect negotiations happening on the sides. That put that on the side. The war is happening. People are wanting to go back to an MOU. The reality is, this is going to be another month or two before we get to an MOU.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, my friend
If
Didier
we
from
even get
Paris,
that.
whose call sign here is Funky Coriander, actually put up a French phrase that explains what Trump is doing, agaspissette, which is a French term that means to play with or fuck with your wee wee. Okay, it's a children's term, right? Agaspissette means to just screw around with people, right? To drag them on, to jerk them around and everything. I like what it says, but it's not like an adult penis, right? It's a little when you're a kid, a wee wee, right? To smack your wee wee, tease your wee wee. This is Trump. And the funny thing is, 90% of the agaspissette is in his head.
Mm.
It's in his head, and
Yeah.
he feels. I think we're looking at a sort of a Nero moment where he thinks he is making massive risk level Tom Clancy changes. There are conversations that are going to come out where we will find out that Trump was doing these, Wizard of Oz, pulling the levers of the global machine, like, let's cut ties with Europe, will be what he said. And then we'll see all the little things that you see where he hates Spain, he hates France, he hates Italy. But all he said was, or
Hey.
Denmark, let's screw with Europe. As a matter of fact, Fruit, I forgot I have your hat, your Greenland hat. that I keep forgetting to mail with you, right? Nuk den, het net den nuk, right?
No,
So, no,
Naganuk.
no, no ganuk. And that he feels like he's the Wizard of Oz. Someone has told him that he is all powerful and that whatever he
Yes.
decides, the world, he is not. The president of the United States, we are finding out right now the absolute limits of the power
Baba
of the United States.
Baba Trump is a strong president.
Baba Trump. Well,
Very
when you put it,
strong.
when you put it that way, which is all you got to do is say it. Then
Yeah.
I guess you are all powerful if you believe what everybody says about you, right? But it's just crazy that the MAGA world, and I think he gets this from the fact, by the way, when they talk about Trump wouldn't be cleared for even the lowest level confidential or secret clearance, the phrase that they use for the president of the United States and people he gives clearances to is the vote of the people have authorized him to do this. And this is where things get crazy. All right. The people did not authorize this. A slim majority of people voted for him. And what he decided to do was now, as the American Nero, is pull out all of the cards and just start. I'm going to change. Steve Bannon, who I wrote in my book, The Plot to Destroy Democracy. No, the original one, The Plot to Hack America. I knocked that book out in 6 weeks. It came out almost a month and a half before the election. And, Steve Bannon, Trump's big ideas guy, the guy who's going to the right-wing fascist gladiator institute in Italy, right? He was buying a monastery in Italy to turn into an international convention center for right-wing fascist groups. Steve Bannon, his philosopher, the guy that he studied the most to create this masters of the universe world for Trump, was Putin's philosopher, Alexander Dugin. And Steve Bannon actually originally referred to himself as a cultural Marxist, right? He was going to smash the system and he was going to change the balance of the world by giving Russia Europe, designating the Western Hemisphere as America's, and giving Asia to China. He was going to move us from a bipolar world of NATO versus the former East to a tripolar world, which would reward China for existing and making flip-flops for us, right? Making T-shirts for us. So it's actually happening. I think what we're seeing, and I think that's going to be, I think we discussed this the other day in my Ceuta special, which, by the way, for those of you who have been watching all these right-wing and guys and people who have never heard of this Spanish enclave, the name is Ceuta, okay? It's not Ceuta. It's not Suda. It's not Saata. I've heard crazy discussions about this thing. People are like, you're pronouncing it wrong. I've been there, done that. Got my passport stamped at least 6 times going through Ceuta. Right? I mean, the letters actually spell out the pronunciation, right? So, so these people who see what's happening in Ceuta and what we said about Egypt the other day and what we said about all these machinations that are now occurring between the United States and Israel, the United States and Europe, these people are what we once called policy. These people are calling the machinery of the world. And they're fucking pulling levers that were never designed to be pulled, right? It's a fine-tuned chronograph. And these guys have changed it into, a Rube Goldberg clock with 5,000 pieces and the moving balls that fall, that hit a spindle, that knocks over a cup of tea, that goes over here. I wrote about this in my book, Plot to Betray America. I call it the masters of the universe attitude.
Yeah.
Everything they do is correct. Everything they do achieves our goals. But I think they're just getting to the point where they're fine tuning it. Greenland was a masters of the universe move. Oh, you got the picture up behind you. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, why do I have
put
that
out
picture?
again. He put it out again.
Of course he
Baba
did.
Trump
Because
is right there.
he showed his little willy to everyone by chickening out. And
Gas cassette.
when everybody discloses his little willy, he posts this. It's logical.
I want Greenland. I want Greenland.
And you know what? Sayuta and all these other things, we have all the documentation we need. It's in the national security strategy, where it talks about cultivating resistance in Europe because he wants a divided Europe, a nationalistic Europe, and he's afraid of a strong Europe. So these are all things that he wants to, use to divide us. The same dream that Putin shares.
But he has a 5-year-old's attitude. Well, when you consider that his chief analyst was Putin's philosopher's disciple, of course it's going to be what we used to call policy, thoughtful foreign policy, is them creating a new world order. Remember how everybody got upset when George Herbert Walker Bush said we've entered a new world order because we were shifting from the post-World War II, United States paying for everything to a global economy, which was true. America created that global economy. These guys, I think that the best way to put it, and I've written 3 books about this, is that they are aligning the world order to what I called in my book, The Plot to Destroy Democracy, the axis of autocrats. Right?
Can you see here?
Yeah.
This is the thinking. This is the thinking in the national security strategy.
That's a Trump, Vlad, Xi. That's correct. That's correct.
When I talk to people about the national security strategy, this is the drawing I made when it was just published. And I was just sitting there playing with my phone, and I put up something on social media, and this ended up on the front page of Denmark's largest newspaper.
Oh, they did? I'm going to grab one of my books, because there's a quote in there by Steve Bannon that I think everybody needs to hear. Go ahead, Jake Watch.
The U.S. Pentagon just signed a deal to boost productions of missile interceptor and interceptor parts by Lockheed Martin and North Grumman.
We'll see that shit in 10 years.
I think isn't that too little too late?
10 years, we'll be seeing this. Yeah, I mean, they've got to let out contracts, but you should have thought about this shit last June after we attacked Iran. Right? Why is it like, well, maybe we'll find some missiles now? By the way, this is the book I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as if with those, it's not as if you could just boost the production. You need new production lines, and you need a whole supply chain to work to do that. And that's why these things take time, and it's just utter nonsense.
Yep. Well, I'm going to read to you, if I can find this. Here it is. Trump's spy or Putin's ally. I broke out. This became so obvious to me. I started this book the day after I made a statement on MSNBC that shocked everybody in the news media and then didn't shock anybody afterwards, right? Where I said, I believe the United States election is being attacked by a foreign intelligence operation designed to elect Donald Trump as president of the United States. And little did I know, John Brennan, director of the CIA that very week, was calling Moscow and telling them, we know you are messing in this election. You are backing Trump. You better freaking watch out. Of course, nobody cared about that. And The funny thing
Trump
is,
cared about it, so he's been chasing John Brennan ever since.
Trump hates anybody. Trump also had John Brennan and I pulled off of air at MSNBC. So I'm just looking up the section of about Alexander Dugin and Steve Bannon. And the funny thing is, here's what I called it. I called it Operation Lucky Seven. This book, I'm going to show this to you. This came out 6 weeks before the election. And it says, I called it Operation Lucky Seven, the Kremlin plan to elect a president. And what I find even more hilarious and interesting is that I literally have people, this was the first book ever written about the Russian intelligence operation to elect a president. And then the next book that would come out would be Luke Harding's Collusion 17 months later. And then David Korn's book would come out about a year after that. So 2.5 years before an American journalist would write a book about this book was published, and they all were like, so I like one of my favorite reviews was about David Korn's book. He goes, excellently resourced, highly detailed, long read version of Plot to Hack America. So no offense, but intelligence professionals are just faster at putting their reports down on paper than journalists are. And I said that this whole thing was an operation. It was based on a lot of Russian disinformation and hybrid warfare campaigns that were going on in what I called Web War II. That's when they went after Estonia, Lithuania, Ukraine, when they seized control of the power plant. There were all these things. And then pairing up with WikiLeaks, right? This is what I wrote about WikiLeaks. Russia's intelligence laundromat. And that was their job, was to be a laundromat. I just need to see where I made my estimate on Steve Bannon. And what's funny is this is the second edition, because right here, that red dot of this book, they put in the CIA's estimate that came out in just before the election out there, and it's almost identical to what I wrote in this book. And it went in, the CIA's estimate went to President Obama on the exact same day this book was turned in to go to print. And somebody was like, well, how'd you do that? And I go, well, spies think exactly alike. We can see this shit. It's just that the CIA steals their information on a massive scale. And I was doing an estimate based on open source intelligence, what I could see. I really want to get to this part about, I didn't have what do you call it? An index in the back. So I actually have to go back. Putin's strategy to compromise an American election. And one of the chapters I have in here is called Putin's Philosophers. And this was all of this masterclassing on compromise, how Putin relied on compromising information, which is how he became president of Russia, using compromise against the general prosecutor that was trying to get him. And somebody says, wow, Malcolm, a spectacular penetrating vision. You know what? Spectacular penetration can really be used anywhere. And but I had this, but what I did was I broke out all these people who were involved in this, which I call it Trump's agents, Putin's assets, right? All of these people who were clearly like Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort was being played by Lukashenko in Ukraine, the pro-Moscow guy in Ukraine. And all of these people who were just sitting there waiting for the money. And, school of the second profession. And they just put together this thing and go, we're just going to elect this guy. And the Mueller report came out and essentially said that. So talk to yourselves while I find this thing. But my
spectacular penetration from the drag race to the situation.
What's amazing is that all these people in this book who are implicated in all these other, like the Mueller report and everything, have all been given pardons. They've all been trying to get money. Mike Flynn got $2 or $3 million from the U.S. government for what?
Yeah.
For prosecuting him for actually talking to the Russians. I mean, it's a fact where we've literally turned treasonous activities that should have been investigated as Espionage Act issues into, just other political activities, right?
Yeah. No collusion. No collusion.
Shitloads of collusion.
Shitloads.
Shitloads of collusion were going on.
It's just not a legal term. And that's, where the chain comes off.
Shitloads is, you're right. It was just not a technical term. Chapter 17. All right. This is one of, by the way, this book and The Plot to Destroy Democracy. Plot to Destroy Democracy is my intelligence assessment of Putin's overall strategy to get rid of democracy in the West. And to do it, you had to create a United States that was autocrat, oligarch, and fascist. And look where the fuck we are now, right? We are run by an oligarchy. We are not even, I hear people saying, we're flirting with fascism. Bitch, flirting with fascism. We neck deep into some fascism here. I got fascism day and night. I wrote my last book, right, about all of his shooters in there. And I like this. In the post-Soviet period, St. Petersburg became known as gangster capital. Well, that has moved to Washington now. Okay? Yeah, that's just payoff capital of the world. And how Putin turned the KGB, turned into the FSB, into what he called his intelligence nobility. Right?
Yeah.
They were Putin's guys in office. But let me see, play, manipulate, the Kremlin
they were the
crew.
ones who brought him into power, and this whole, alliance with the oligarchy, with the mafia, and as long as they would serve Russian interests abroad, they got free reign, and that's the deal in Russia. As long as they leave Putin to dominate politics, and they serve Putin's interest worldwide, they can get away with whatever.
Well, the purpose of this entire conversation, for those of you who are listening, is that we are now, all three of us, we are seeing the Tom Clancyization of American politics. They are not doing things according to policy around the fringes. They're pulling fucking levers. And you see, by the way, Wajeeh, if you have a moment, could you go check the price of oil if you would like to see some fucking levers pulled?
Yeah.
Holy shit, oil
So
dropped
cheap.
$10 a barrel.
So cheap.
It was $90 the other day. It's like $70 today. How is this even possible?
Yeah.
Where are we at? What are the prices?
79.21 for WTI, 38.42 for Brent crude. Marban is sitting at 80.
Wait, what's that? What's Brent? I can't read it. It's too small.
81?
It's 83.
Brent crude is 83.50 cents.
Backwards. $7, $8 fucking drops in oil over the weekend. $8. How do you explain that?
You have to ask yourself, is more oil being marketed after Trump?
Yeah, is there more oil suddenly?
No.
Is there just
Is
more oil?
Is there more? No.
The only report I saw is that the Strait of Hormuz is dripping about 5 million barrels of oil a day.
That's what
Bloomberg
claims. Yeah.
Here's one of my favorite. I'm going to show you this. This is from the Kobesi letter. which is a market letter that they put out here. You guys can see this. And this is the price of oil going up. It was at $86.56, and then it drops to $78.85. And it says breaking, U.S. oil prices crash below $79 a barrel after Donald Trump cancels strikes on Iran and says a deal is near. And the overall philosophy of oil analysts, and we've said this almost every day, is that the market is going by their belief in Trump and not by the realities of the stock market, which tells you have a lot, let's be honest, a lot of white American oil traders who are going on faith, not the market. And that's why I referenced the movie The Big Short the other day, because that was all on faith. They were turning horrible trash junk mortgages into AAA plus rated mortgages and selling them at top dollar. And the numbers were just not adding up. And they were like, well, we're Bear Stearns. We're fucking awesome. We can do Masters of the Universe. And what happened? The entire global economy imploded, right? The biggest drop in the market since the Great Depression. And in this one, The Big Short, and in this one, that oil is not going to miraculously appear. You can manage housing mortgages and make it a soft landing. But this is why we're going to have Mr. Global on, because I'm sick of talking about it, because I'm just the person who watches how military forces and political decisions impact that. I want to hear from a global trader who's got money on the table going, the fuck is going on? Because all of the experts are literally out there going, this is not funny. You're playing with this, and somehow Trump went from believing the reality that this Strait of Hormuz being closed was impacting the market. And somehow he flipped from June 17th to a week ago to believing he doesn't care if the Strait of Hormuz never opens. Really? Winter heating oil season is coming in the United States, and over half of these houses still use heating oil, which, by the way, is the most expensive way to heat in the United States.
That's how you know it's turning into That's how you know it's turning into Vietnam. That's how you know it's turning into Afghanistan. That's how you know it's turning into Iraq.
Listen,
When the leadership is in denial, remember when George Bush said mission accomplished? Remember when previous leadership was like, okay, that's it. Vietnam, we got it under control. Like, come on. Like this, you can't be more serious than this. Like,
they believe in a fantasy-based world, and that's why I call it Tom Clancy-esque activities that are happening. One mission where he runs out in guns and entire nation states collapse, right? And they're like, yeah. You know what? Did you guys ever see the movie? Well, it was A Clear and Present Danger with Harrison Ford. And the guy who's on the National Security Council, the CIA guy, does the secret mission, but he makes sure that he gets a pardon from the president, a get out of jail free card, right? That's what's happening. These guys are out there. Why don't we just collapse the entire democratic Western order in Europe by supporting Russia's immigration warfare and using that to get us reelected this fall? Trump said that 2 days ago. He said it 2 days ago, that what's happening in Ceuta is going to be beneficial for us because we're going to show the American people this is what's happening on our borders. No, it's not. But they live in a fantasy world where now they are making up things. They are making things happen. Okay, and that leads me to a discussion that I want to have with Jacob. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why my book is called Subverted. Unfortunately, it's not in English yet, but we are having it translated because these activities that Trump is starting Yes. There you are.
I keep my buddy's books right in front of me, baby.
And because it's subversive activities, and say Utah is another example. That's what's going on.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to talk about is we had this discussion about anomalies, and today we're talking about the levers of the universe. Because again, the last time massive fucking levers of the universe were pulled was World War II and post World War II. And World War II was invade Europe. Okay, invade Europe and wipe out the Nazi machine to the tune of 50
what does
million
pulling a
people dead.
massive lever mean to anyone that doesn't know that term?
Policy decisions which affect every person's life, right? And so,
Yeah.
in the when what is the conference where Churchill and FDR decide on invading Europe,
Yeah.
right? That is first off, they know what the consequences of what they're doing is. And they sit down and then they form an all of government approach. And then, as you saw, the first step was massive resources to England to turn it into Fortress England. That was step number one. Step number two, reams of U.S. air power to England to start attacking Germany. Step three, the invasion of North Africa, right? The landings that took place in Iran and places like that. And to start U.S. force in North Africa from the west, while England's 8th Army was fighting from the east. Squeeze the Nazis out of North Africa. Boom, that was done. Next phase, invade Sicily. And from Sicily, that will lead to the invasion of Italy at Anzio, which will collapse 1/3 of the Axis, which was Italy, Japan, and Germany. And that took Italy off the table. It didn't matter because the Germans still fought for every inch of Italy. But the Italian government collapsed and Mussolini ended up being hung by piano wire. So these are thoughtful, competent pulling of the levers where you know what's going to happen. And the last major pull of the lever, which took place in the conference in where did they meet in Crimea? Yalta, right? Where FDR took a ginormous risk coming across the Atlantic and then coming through the Mediterranean to go up through Turkey and to go to Crimea, and so did Churchill. If either of those two guys had died all the way, on the way, we would have been living in a different world. A different world.
Meet with Stalin.
To meet with Stalin. We could have been living in a Soviet Europe if either of those two guys had died. Because the Russians would have said, fuck it, we on our way, right? So these were massive changes in what was going on. A lever is really a decision that impacts all of us. Trump's lever, the first lever he decided to pull when he became president was, fuck Europe. Fuck them all. I want them all right-wing, conservative, neo-Nazi, authoritarian, oligarch-based like Russia. And I wrote another book about that. I wrote another book about that called The Plot to Betray America, How Team Trump Embraced Our Enemies. Right? And people kept going, why are you writing these books? Because I kept seeing the path of aggression from these guys.
Yeah.
And it affects every one of you is living this. Every one of you is living what's happening here. And so he pulled that lever and then he went around the world like, I'm going to fuck you. Canada, fuck you. You are going to become part of the United States. And okay, set that aside. Same thing with Greenland and the meeting he had with Mette Frederiksen, where I remember that news report coming out. And the phrase was, People in the Danish foreign ministry and government are in a panic after a meeting with Trump. And I had been watching this way earlier. They started talking about Greenland, mentioned it one time in 2017. It was sort of like a joke. But when they started mentioning it in December 2025 as part of the transition, it was becoming philosophy. It was becoming policy. And so Trump had these crazy ideas in his mind. Where'd he get them from? Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, and who's that other guy who hates Ukraine? Sachs, right? David Sachs. The PayPal mafia, the four white South Africans, four of them who run Silicon Valley. And they got into his head the belief that he should start destroying all of the levers and balances that were held in place in World War II and to start seizing parts of the world. That's what I mean when I say Tom Clancy combat operations. When I see the U.S. military being used for a crazy-ass Tom Clancy-like plan. And the first one he pulled was well, he threatened those things, but Venezuela was really it. Really it, right? He's like, I'm taking all their oil. And it came straight from the book, Tom Clancy novel, Some of All Fears. Not Some of All Fears, Clear and Present Danger. Clear and present danger, secret special forces missions in the country, destroying drug running aircraft, just extra legally killing them. Yes, Jacob.
And it wasn't, as we've talked about before, picked up here in Denmark. And when you were here in May of 2025, it hadn't, people hadn't been taking it seriously. I'd been writing about it and saying, "Hey, wake up, wake up." And it was only really, that summer started a little bit. And then again in the fall and in the winter, before we went to Greenland in January, where the government and most people started to wake up to reality and give up on this folly that Trump was just saying something and you shouldn't take it seriously. Because that was like the main idea in the press here and so on. And I was one of the few voices saying, "Wake up, for fuck's." Sorry.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, I totally agree with you, but here's the reality for the West: they don't give a fuck about what is happening in the rest of the globe until it directly bursts the bubble that they live in and affect the walls that they use.
Yeah.
Unless that those two things aren't affected, the rest of the globe doesn't give a damn. And it is taken this far for the rest of the world to start going, maybe we don't want to be friends with the United States anymore, to when are we gonna what's the straw that's gonna break the camel back for us to intervene and do this what you guys call in English an intervention. Take someone else's shoes away and you lock the door and you bring the whole family and you sit down, you're like, we gotta change it.
Somebody said a good comment just below. He said, they don't care until it bites them in their fat asses. And guess what? Y'all getting bit now. The fucking trade war, the crazy philosophy of tariffs, to the point where the man's so ignorant, he doesn't even know a tariff is a tax on his own people, or he knows and he doesn't care. He just likes the word. All right? This guy is a fucking, without any question, a fucking moron. I have this joke about, this is why in the military, we have guys on the shooting range, the range controllers. The range controllers are all armed with a fully loaded weapon, hot, condition one, ready to shoot. You know why? Because there's
locked and
always
loaded.
Locked and loaded. There's always some dumbass that comes on the range who has the intention to kill himself and other people and thinks it's fun. So the range controllers, when we're watching the line on the range, we're watching to see who's picking up the gun and getting ready to turn and kill other people. Happened numerous times during the Vietnam War. It happens every once in a while in the armed forces. But the range controllers are the adults. Okay. The U.S. intelligence community technically should be the range controllers of the United States government. But now they're not. First thing Trump did was he disarmed them. You work for me now. And if I am the drunk monkey with a machine gun shooting around, dancing to techno, you fucking turn the music up. That's where we are. Drunk monkeys with machine gun as a foreign policy. But even worse, these drunk monkeys are clever drunk monkeys because what they want to do is they think their behaviors, each destructive twirl of the machine gun, will get them something. And it does. It intimidates some people. I see a lot of people from sub-Saharan Africa who come after me on Twitter and they're like, you just don't love Trump. Trump, smart man, many monies. That's just a poor attitude of, I want to get some of what he has, right? I want to get some of what he has. Okay, that's possible that you want to get some of what he has. But that doesn't mean that your life in backwoods Johnny Nigeria is going to get any better. Here's what we did to Nigeria. Number one, we fucking hate them. Trump hates black people. Period. Done. Don't anybody ever fucking debate me on that point, right? You know, as I like to say, prove that I'm wrong. He calls all of them shithole countries. I've been to those countries. All right. They have fine, thick cultures, but they do have a massive population. And you know who's coming in there to assist them? China. So we are selling our seed corn. China practically owns sub-Saharan Africa with loans. And China doesn't just say, hey, we're going to give you a loan and you're going to give you bags of feed, of corn and stuff like that. They buy ports. They buy mines. And then they write the contracts with the corrupt dictators so they own it forever. And technically, I call it economic colonialism. They come in and they own your country.
They help build the infrastructure.
And you know what? Another fun thing?
They help establish an infrastructure for countries that have not been successful establishing infrastructure.
China brings in resources. I actually had someone talk to me in Cameroon. I used to live, did a security assessment. Cameroon, went all around the country. And I know this guy, and he goes, you know, we don't accept those bulk T-shirts that are sold by charities from the United States anymore. They used to stuff a container with like 10,000 T-shirts, and then they would sort them out and sell them in the souk for, 10 cents, 20 cents. You see a guy with a Harvard T-shirt, right, that has holes ripped in it. They go, no, we can get it cheaper, new from China. New. Mm-hmm. So China buys those T-shirts now and rip them down into basic fabric material. And when you go into a market in Africa, you can get some decent quality stuff because it comes straight from China now. China buys those countries. And what did Trump do? Close 17 embassies and consulates in China because he hates black people. And he doesn't see them as a resource. Yeah. He doesn't see them as something which would benefit America. So he gave up a continent to China. And then he gave up the Sahel, North Africa, to the Russians? I don't get it. And now he wants to...
As of today, 107 out of 195 U.S. embassies positions are vacant.
You know why? Trump is the ambassador. Trump doesn't speak through intermediaries anymore. The United States government doesn't talk face-to-face to people. They can fucking read the tweet from Truth Social. That ego, that is literally Kim Jong-un fucking levels of communist egomania there. Trump is the biggest communist also I've ever met.
I will say in Denmark, we are that important that Trump actually named an ambassador. And that is Peter Thiel's old business partner from PayPal, Ken Howery. And he wants Greenland too and has donated money.
One job. He's got one job to get fucking Greenland.
Yeah,
and
and
make it soft.
he's donated money to Praxis Nation.
Pra- Praxis
Yeah,
Praxis Nation is a Silicon Valley concept. Go look it up. Praxis. It will blow your mind. Put in
it's fucking
Praxis
insane.
City. It's insane. They were going to go there and take hundreds of billions of dollars and create these data center, New York State-sized data centers in
And
cities
tech
that would be,
societies, tech societies,
that
because
were
they
for
hate
tech,
democracy. Democracy is ruining
tech
the world.
bros. Yeah, all that good decision making. And they would be led by these CEO leaders, right? And it was only for cool white guy tech bros and tech chicks that all believe that democracy sucks and fucking tech rules. It's like, are you out of your... When I
That's the
heard this, the
ambassador
first
we
thing
got here in Copenhagen. That's the ambassador we got
I
here in
slept.
Copenhagen. Isn't
You
that
know what?
sweet?
I am such a humanly grounded person with so much experience behind me that the only way that you would dialogue with people like that is to slap the ever living fuck out of them, right? Recalibrate them right upside the head and go, the fuck are you doing? You're living in some Robert Heinlein novel, right? And you're gonna enslave the 57,000 people of Greenland to build your white boy tech utopia? Then you backhand them. I mean, that's the only way that you can see these people. When I can't even understand how human beings exist. That they, it's like the movie Elysium. You're going to build a ring world around Earth, right? And everybody else gets to live in squalor. By the way, Robert Heinlein novel, Ring World. So it's just, I don't understand it. The problem is they have elected stupid leaders like Trump who promised them Greenland. They promised them Greenland.
Yeah.
And they said it to Trump in such a way that Greenland is like this insanely rich land of denying Trump millions of tons of gold that's under it. Bitch, under a 1 mile sheet of ice? You got to drive a mile under ice to get to the rock that you would have to start digging out that may have nothing under it.
But America will be big. It'll be big. Look at that whole landmass with the stars and stripes. It'll be big.
By the way, I'm going to be doing a fundraiser for Greenland through Black Man Spy. When I was there, I bought a lithograph. There's only like 1 of 10 of these lithographs. It was by a Danish artist, and the name of it is The Occupation of Nook. And it's the U.S. forces had taken over Nook, and they put a fence around Old Town, Greenland, and they turned that into a living cultural museum of the Eskimo. There's no fucking Eskimos there, right? And then they put up helicopter pads, and then they built a Trump Tower right in the middle of downtown Nook. And this guy did this painting a year or so ago based on your and my discussions on Danish television. And I saw it in Nook. He only had 2 copies that were being sold at the convention center there. And I bought both copies, and I'm having them framed right now. It's a very big painting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise money. We're going to auction those off to raise money for my next Greenland trip, which, by the way, I want to go to Qaanaaq, right? You and I, we want to go to Qaanaaq, way in the north. And we got to go there before October because that's when the ice comes. And, but it's insanely expensive. I mean, a round trip airplane, we must hire the Greenland airplane to go up there. And then when it leaves, there's no guarantee they'll be back for a week or 2. And I don't think they got a lot of... We'll camp out. But it's right next to Patuxent Space Base, and it's full of little partial African Americans up there. That's where Matthew Henson had his Greenlandic wife. So... But we're gonna sell or auction that painting off to pay for our round trip to go up to Qaanaaq. But that lithograph, I thought when we came back from Greenland, okay, that's over and done with. But it's still in Trump's head. He still wants to occupy Greenland. And if he has a failure here in Iran in the second term, even if the Democrats are in charge, he is probably going to want to demonstrate a power somewhere. And I think he may just say, fuck NATO. I'm seizing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Doing anything to hide his little Willie.
Well, NATO director, what is his name? Call him Daddy. Yeah, Daddy.
Levers. They are jerking and smashing apart the levers and the machine clockwork that makes the world run. And they think that they could just, piss on it and stick a stick of gum out of their mouth and say, we fixed it. It now works for us. It's crazy.
Did you see the presidential ring Trump received from Swiss companies?
No. That was Dutch
The Dutch company?
diamond industry. And they gave him this giant ring with 371 diamonds in it. Now get this. The minute he got that ring, he waived all sanctions for natural diamonds. He needs to go to fucking prison for that. That needs to be in the not reconciliation. What's the word that we want for this?
They say it's as big as a watch.
Retribution Museum, right? Where we need to say, hey, we're coming after all of you. That needs to be sold and broken down and returned to the U.S. Treasury. Somebody says may have been Belgium. I believe it was Denmark. Not Denmark, Netherlands, because that's where the diamonds are.
Not Denmark. We don't.
It's not Denmark.
We're not.
All right. One last twist of the lever here that we'll talk about this morning is something Jacob mentioned yesterday.
18-karat gold with 321 natural diamonds, 56 sapphires, 13 emeralds, and 6 rubies. I think they went a little low on the rubies and the emeralds, but shame.
Yes, this is for you, Raja. This is crazy. What I want to talk about next is the lever that was pulled at the same time that the invasion of Ceuta went. I have said this very clearly. I will not believe that there was a drone attack in Egypt until I see the drone. Apparently, Jacob mentioned this yesterday. Here is the video of that drone attack. The drone is a Samad 3, an Iranian drone. And that drone has been popularly used by Yemen.
Hezbollah.
The Houthis.
Yemen.
The Houthis. The Houthis have carried out several drone attacks using the Samad 3 drone. Now, I didn't buy into it. I said, is this AI or whatever? No, this is legit imagery. You can hear it. Here it is coming in towards one of the 2 ships. You can even still hear the propeller of the second aircraft. Here's the video. Let me see if you guys can.
Scoot.
One second.
Yeah, we see it.
I'm going to take off my headphones so that you can actually hear the audio.
And we're here.
Of this. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, now I'm going to crank up the volume.
You can hear the flying moped.
This is going to sound like a lawnmower.
Like a lawnmower. I'm going to play that. The bridge has been totally destroyed. That's all he can say. I mean, it's not like the first thing you should say is Ya Allah. Right? Okay, there's the drone right dead center. Long wings, propeller driven, V bottom. Iranian made Samad. That does not mean the Iranians launched it because it doesn't have the actual legs to fly to Egypt from Iran. So let's play it again. See it?
Can you tell which direction this drone is coming from?
No. Nope. Hear it? There's another one.
I bet you if I showed this to a nuclear physicist, they could tell me.
So that is the liquid natural gas tanker on fire. None of this is good, but I'm going to put my headphones back on so you can hear me better.
And we're in Damietta,
This
Egypt,
is
right
somebody.
here.
I got to tell you something. That story is very fascinating. I would have a task force on this. I mean, this is somebody had better come up with some fucking answers there. Maybe the warhead was very small. The Samad 3 drone, actually, I can show you a photograph of it and you can see exactly what it looks like. There it is. There's the image. And this photo is taken at the exact angle that it looks like in the video. That is a propaganda video by the Faris news agency from Iran. And down below is the actual drone. You can see it very long wings, V bottom, propeller, very long phrase. These actually are wheels. And this is that is what hit that ship. When I first saw it, I said it looks like one of those Chinese Wunlong drones or the Turkish, what is it, Arancini or whatever the its name is. But that is a Samad 3 Iranian built drone. And that's exactly what that looked like. So, yes, we did get the video. I believe that an Iranian drone struck that tanker. But Malcolm, do you believe the Iranians struck that tanker? That's a different animal. My guess would be Yemen or someone who had a copy of that drone. Because you can capture those from Hezbollah, right? You can capture those from the Houthis. You could buy them on the open market at one point. And intelligence agencies do buy our enemy's equipment. I know. I helped get a whole shitload of it once. So, but I'm going to go along with the thought that it's the Houthis who carried out that attack. The question is why? Why would they carry out that attack? What do you guys think?
As
Well,
I
it's the
said
same thing
before,
that was said yesterday.
to show they're able to hit Egypt,
Uh-huh.
because we know there were meetings between Egypt and Saudi Arabia leading up to this attack about helping the Saudis to get oil out through the Strait of Suez Canal. And maybe that was the intention, to show we are capable of striking you. And that's also my take on why the Egyptians are trying to put a lid on it and don't even want to, admit what is, obvious, because they want to, just tone it down.
Regardless if it was the Iranians or the Houthis or Hajj al-Sha'bi or Hezbollah, I think the message it is about getting that message across. I agree with Jacob. It doesn't matter the party that is gonna conduct the attack, as long as they are all part of. My own opinion at this point, they're all part of the Iranian octopus head. So it doesn't matter to Iran how the hit is delivered. What mattered is the message. What mattered is their capability of saying, we are able to reach here, we are able to reach the Strait of Hormuz, we are able to reach the Bab al Mandab. All of these waterways that Habibi, even though I am not all the way there, I have people that can reach all the way there. To me, that's a very important message that can convey not only to the Gulf states but to the rest of the global economy, Europe, China, Asia, the United States. This really hits difference when you see, oh, wow, this really can be devastating in worse ways than we thought could be.
Oof. All I know is that could have been bad. I'm just checking out right
Yeah.
now the range of the Samad drone. It's called Jaffa, the Jaffa drone, which I like Jaffa. The city, the village, or not a village, it's a small town section of Tel Aviv of Samad 3. The range of the Samad 3 Yemeni reconnaissance 1,500 kilometers, according to the Houthis, and it can
Ooh.
carry out a payload. It carries an explosive payload, but of
What
how
was the?
much?
Could you repeat that again?
It says the Houthis Samad 3 drone has a range of 1,500 kilometers.
Oh
It
wow.
has the Samad 2 has a German or Chinese pusher engine. This is from the U.S. Odin. It's the U.S. Army database. Samad 3 is an extended range version with a conformal fuel tank mounted on top of the drone. 1,500 kilometer range, carries an explosive payload, and it is operated by the Houthis. Oh boy, what is the purpose of this bullshit? Really? They want to drag Egypt into the war? Don't do it now. I'm going to Egypt here in a couple of
They want to
months.
scare them. They want to scare them.
Egypt
They
cannot
want to
afford going
show
through
them
this
the
war.
quagmire.
Hmm. All right. What?
Imagine the cost of what you can face, even though your economy is struggling. People are people the bread subsidized bread. So Egypt has subsidized goods,
Right.
including subsidized bread. The bread used to be this big. Now the loaf of bread is this big. The stagflation is really hitting. The shrinkflation is showing. People are barely making ends meet. The media in Egypt are telling people to go vegan, vegetarian, and find other means of finding protein. People are struggling in Egypt, so
My,
they
my
can't afford something like that.
my guys who work for me in Egypt are writing to me every month now. Mr. Malcolm, see you soon, right? And it's like, right, because to tell you the truth, working on one of our historic tours, they can make as much as they would make in a year otherwise in just 10 days.
Yeah,
But and I understand the value of one single dollar in that country. It's big, but there's
yeah,
a lot of money in Cairo, though. I'm going to tell you something. 20 million people. There's a luxury class of Egyptians there that make
yeah,
crazy money, crazy
yeah.
stupid money, and they drive around in these BYDs. I've seen Bentleys. Ugh. I mean, it's like everybody went to the UAE and brought it all back. All right. Well, let's go to questions real quick. We've gone over a little bit. Somebody says oil market manipulation continues. That's from Dave Oruhlika.
Mhm.
Prices are down over 5%. Al Jazeera, Cheryl Watkins Lincoln says Al Jazeera reported that Iran claimed not to be in communication with the U.S. What
That's
could
exactly
shift
what I was
this
talking about.
narrative? What could shift this narrative so that the game stops? I think that the Pakistanis just run to Washington immediately and go, I'm talking to Iran. I'm talking to Iran. No
Yeah.
problem. Right? And Iran's like, somebody in this room talking to them? We're not talking to them. What are you talking about?
Plus,
I think
Iran is also, putting this out about their talks with the Omanis and their talks with the Saudis. So, that's part of it.
there is something happening. There is something happening here that people are keeping missing. Yes, like this is very funny because Trump keeps saying that we're talking, and the Iranian keeps coming out there saying we're not talking. What is happening really is that there are side talks, and the Trump administration consider these side talks direct talks, and the Iranians consider these side talks not real talks at all. And that is exactly the understanding that happened with the MOU, like being played up game. This is exactly what's happened in the MOU being played right in front of you, well, right in front of everyone. And
I
I'm
think
like,
Trump.
oh, like,
I was going to say, I think Trump is such a racist that when he talks to the Pakistanis, he think they're the Iranians. They're dark brown. They speak another language. It must be Iran. I'm talking to them every day. Thea Sterling says, "Good morning. My husband is a rigger working in Boston right now. 2 days before his flight home to Houston, his whole team got a notice saying their flight has been canceled. It looks like they have to schedule a flight for 2 days later. There's no weather issues. No reason was given, just the notice below. Do you think this is due to a fuel shortage? We know that there are fuel shortages. Uh, I tried to get to Montreal a couple of months ago out of not Dulles, out of LaGuardia. They canceled 6 flights in a row, 6 attempts at that flight in a row. They didn't have fuel. It's if they don't have
Wow.
enough passengers on that flight to allocate fuel, they will say, "Oh, it's a weather delay, a mechanical delay." 6 in a row, though. Come on, guys. Um, and there's the question about the cyber attacks on the water infrastructure in Minnesota. Have you guys been following this?
Yeah.
Apparently, there were
Yes.
attempted hackings of water
Not only
infrastructure.
Minnesota, Michigan, and other states have said similar things. The U.S. infrastructure does not get a lot of funds regarding cybersecurity from the federal government at all. They're all state dependent, and the states have not been prepared very well. Fortunately, in Minnesota, there hasn't been much damages or much effect. Everything is rendering still healthy. But you never know with these cyber attacks because they could even hack the system and tell you that everything is healthy when everything is not healthy, and there would be more testing need to be done. But the U.S. infrastructure, waterways, desalination plants are all very, very sensitive to these type of cyber attacks, and you guys know this better than I do.
Yeah. And the first words out of Trump's mouth were, "We're not going to help them. Iran didn't attack us. That's Minnesota pretending they were attacked." That Tim Walz, who ran against him for vice president, it's all pretending. This man does not care about Americans. He cares about the 32% of people, what is it, between 28 and 32% of people that now still approve of him, right? It's just crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah. And going after water supplies is a very well known tactic in Europe, and the Russians have used it for years in their hybrid warfare against Europe. They've also done it in my country, Denmark. So nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. Hey, Ru Ryazaki has a photograph up in the comments. He has all my books, man. Plot to Destroy Democracy, Plot to Betray America, Plot to Hack America. He's got all the plot books. After Plot to Betray America, I said, I'm never using that plot to thing again. But let's see some of the other questions. I want to get to questions. Can we trust the armed forces to protect us from a fascist takeover in the U.S.? Asked Breezy Arley. No, because the armed forces, that's not their job. And the fascist takeover has already happened. Some people failed to vote. A lot of people, 6 million people who voted for Joe Biden would not come out and vote for the black lady. Didn't even bother. And Trump won with the exact same number of votes that he had against Joe Biden, 77 million. There you have it. Greenland. The first Greenland crisis became the Cold War. They're talking about, I did World War II, and then moving U.S. equipment into Greenland to defend against Nazi Germany and all that. Somebody says, Claire Brining says, Malcolm, Larry Niven wrote Ringworld. You're right. Sorry about that. It's still science fiction, and we're now living in it. So, well, Trump said at the beginning of the war, this is from Hellenish, the beginning of the war, we could only end with unconditional surrender. We kind of thought he meant Iran. Okay, that's true. Okay, that is it for today. I think we've gone through a
And
lot.
the
I know
war has only cost $37.5 billion, according to Pete Hegseth.
right,
That's it.
right. Yeah, 100 billion at the very least. And what it's going to cost us over the next few years is crazy. I know we talked a lot today about political philosophy, and I think it's very important for you to now understand, because it's so clear to see now that levers are being pulled to not make little shifts in the world, to make massive
Big
shifts
one.
in the world. And
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you, Ceuta has now floored me. It's floored me. Because not only because I was there, I've been to Melilla, I've been all over Morocco, lived in Spain for years.
Melilla. No, you're talking about
Melilla,
pronunciation. Melilla.
Melilla.
Double L, so it's a J. Melilla.
Yeah, okay, whatever. And that's not, oh God. Anyway, this is now, there have been so many things that we now see as evidenced relating that the Republican vote in April essentially saying they recognize Ceuta and Melilla as occupied Morocco. And that gave the Moroccans a lot of belief. But you wouldn't be surprised that we've come back and we find out that Pete Hegseth or Steve Bannon or Scott Bessent had meetings with the Moroccans going, if you took that back and created a migrant crisis up there, that would be really awful for Spain, who did not support us in this war, don't you think? And that conversation will come out in a New York Times book by Maggie Haberman 2 years from now. Not today, because she knows it. I just hate it when the journalists do that. Okay, guys, thank you very much. We will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully
I
there will
have an
be...
announcement.
Oh, my God, you have an announcement. What is that?
I am proud to announce I'm officially able to apply for my U.S. citizenship. So,
Okay.
if you have not become a paid subscriber yet, please consider becoming paid subscriber so I can pay my lawyer to apply for my citizenship here.
That's like $6,000 right there. I know it, baby. I know it. That is money. The application is $3,000, if I'm not mistaken. Just the application, the payment, not your lawyer putting it in. That's what you have to pay the U.S. government. But congratulations, you're at that point. Go get that citizenship so that you can, when they arrest you and drag you away, I can come and say, he's an American citizen.
That's right.
What can you say? All right. Well, look, where are they going to deport you to? San Francisco? I mean, it's
Oh my
crazy.
God.
I'm going to send you back to Riyadh. They don't deport Saudis, so you're safe.
Thank goodness.
All right. All right, guys, we'll see you all tomorrow. If you're watching this on YouTube, this long 1 hour, 22-minute show, please come to Substack and watch it live every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And our specials, like the Ceuta special that we did the other day. That is what we need. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. We'll see you all tomorrow morning.
See ya.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.